Welcome problem solving fans to another problem of the day, and this one is all about two number lines, and in particular being able to work out what each small gap on a number line is worth. So let's read the question. Here are two number lines. A, B, C and D are points on the lines, and we've got some sums to work out. We've got to work out B minus A and D minus C. Before we can do anything, we need to work out what each small gap on the number line is worth. So to do that, we'll look at the numbers we've been given already. So we've got 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. But between each one of those numbers, there's another gap. So the question is, what comes between 0.1 and 0.2? Well, the easiest way to answer this is to actually put an extra 0 on the end, because 0.1 is worth the same as 0.1 with a 0 on the end. And 0.2 is worth the same as 0.2 with a 0 on the end. So 0.1 is worth the same as 0.10, and 0.2 is worth the same as 0.20, and 0.3 is worth the same as 0.30. Now, if this was talking about money, which obviously it's not, this would be like saying 10 pence, 20 pence, 30 pence. And then halfway between them would become easy, because halfway between 10 pence and 20 pence would be 15 pence. Which we would write as 0.15. And then halfway between 0.20 and 0.30, or 20 pence and 30 pence, would be 25 pence, or 0.25. Then it would go 0.30, 0.35, 0.40, 0.45, and 0.50. Obviously, this one down at the start here, halfway between 0 and 10 pence would be 5 pence, and 5 pence we would write as 0.05 if we were writing it as a decimal. Now we've got enough information to be able to answer our first question, so we've got to figure out what B minus A is. Well, B is 0.40 and A is 0.15. So if we work that out, we've got to do 0.40 minus 0.15, and we can actually just do a column method, although a lot of you would be able to work that out in your head. It's like saying 40 pence minus 15 pence, and it's going to be 25 pence. Well, let's just double check. 0 take away 5 we can't do, so we'd borrow from the 4 and call that a 3, and the 1 we've borrowed makes the 0 into a 10. 10 take away 5 is 5, 3 take away 1 is 2, and 0 take away 0 is 0. Put your decimal point in, and your answer for that first question is 0.25. Moving on to the second part of the question, the only information we've got to go on is that this number is 1/5 and this number here is 0. But there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gaps between them. So obviously the difference between 0 and a fifth is 1/5, but we need to share that 1/5 into 5 mini gaps. So the question is, what is 1/5 divided by 5? Well, there's a couple of ways we could do this. We could do it as a fraction, or we could turn it into a decimal. Well, if we keep with the fractions, then 1/5 divided by 5, it's like having a bar split into fifths, and each fifth dividing it into 5 pieces, like so. So if you imagine each fifth divided into 5 pieces, then the bit that's left would be what 1/5 divided into 5 would be. In this bit, if you divide all the fifths into 5 pieces, you would then get 25 pieces. So 1/5 divided by 5, this little section here, is 1/25 of the whole bar. So 1/5 divided by 5 equals 1/25. So basically, C must be pointing to 1/25. So C is pointing to 1/25. The next markup would be 2/25, the next markup 3/25, 4/25, and then 5/25. But remember, 5/25 would be simplified to 1/5. If you divide both of these by 5 to simplify it, 5s into 5 goes once, and 5s into 25 goes 5 times. So that's 5/25, or 1/5, 6/25, 7/25, 8/25, 9/25, 10/25. So we've actually got enough information now to be able to answer the question, because D is pointing to 7/25 and C is pointing to 1/25. So what we're actually doing is 7/25 minus 1/25. Well, 7 apples minus 1 apple is 6 apples. 7 oranges minus 1 orange is 6 oranges. So 7/25 minus 1/25 is 6/25. The 25th is the unit that we're dealing with. So the final answer is 6/25. Of course, there is an alternative way of doing it. We could have converted the 1/5 into its equivalent decimal. Well, 1/5 is the same as 1 whole 1 divided by 5. And 1 whole 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. So if 1/5 is worth 0.2, instead of dividing the 1/5 by 5, we'd have to divide 0.2 by 5. And we said earlier that 0.2 is the same as 0.2 with a 0 on the end. So it's like dividing 0.20 by 5. And 0.20 divided by 5, 5's into 0 won't go. 5's into 2 won't go, but we haven't really used the 2, so we carry the 2 to make 20, and 5's into 20 goes 4 times. So 0.2 divided by 5 is 0.04. So we could have written above C 0.04. The next one would be 0.08, 0.12, 0.16, 0.20, 0.24, 0.28, 0.32, 0.36, and 0.40. And if we'd have done it that way, then we would have had decimals to subtract instead of fractions. And D would be this 0.28, and C would be 0.04. So it would be 0.28 subtract 0.04. It's a bit like saying 28 pence subtract 4 pence. Well, 28 pence subtract 4 pence would be 24 pence. So an alternative answer as a decimal would be 0.24. And 6/25 is equivalent to 0.24 as a decimal.